Institute of Justice.
That's why this lady feels like, oh, no, maybe.
Honorable Jele, can you mute your mic? We are starting with the official meeting now. We will continue with our chat after.
Mine is muted, Chair. It's not me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Honorable Member. Honorable members, can we mute our mics when we're not speaking, and everybody who is part of the meeting? Only a person who is speaking will have his or her mic unmuted, and the chair. Today we will be receiving a briefing from the Office of the Chief Justice and Judicial Administration on the fourth quarter of 2019-2020 and the first quarter of 2020-2021 as part of the BRRR and recommendation processes. I will now hand over to the SG. We will give you 45 minutes to make a presentation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members of the committee. I am with my team here. Should I start with introductions, Chairperson?
No, we do know your team now. It was when we were starting, when we were in your committee. You can just
okay. No, that's fine.
Shoot straight to the
proceed with the presentation. Okay, thanks very much, Honorable Chairperson and members. The presentation is on, as Chairperson has indicated, Q4 of the presentation outlines. We will deal with the purpose of the presentation. The purpose of the presentation is into different parts. Part A to E, the first part, the introduction, we deal with the vision, mission, and functions of the OCJ various legislative mandates. Part B, the performance information, Q4 of 1920 financial year and Q1 of 2020-21 financial year. Part C, we will deal with financial information for the same quarters, 4 of the previous and 1 of the current year. Part D, personnel information, same, Q4 and Q1 of the last and the current year. And Part E will deal with internal audit information. Moving to the next slide on Part A. I skipped part personnel information.
Before you proceed, I think I made a mistake. I think the person you should introduce is the chair of your audit committee. Is the chair of the audit committee part of your delegation? You have muted yourself, SJ.
Sorry, Chairperson. The chairperson of the audit committee is unavailable, and Mrs. Ruos, who is a member of the audit committee, is available and is present in the meeting. Maybe Mrs. Ruos can greet the committee. Okay, I'll proceed, Chairperson. Mrs. Ross is available to indicate at some point his presence. If I may proceed, yes, Mrs. Ross.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I'm a member of the audit committee and will join this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. With your permission, Honorable Chairperson, may I skip the Part A because it's the same information that we normally deal with. If so, I can move to Part B, which is the Q4 for 2019-2020 APP performance.
Correct.
Chairperson?
Yes, granted.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Part B, performance information. We're starting with Q4 of 2019-2020 performance. The overall performance of the OCJ for the Q4 of the previous financial year, we had 19 planned targets in the APP. 13 of them were achieved and 6 were not achieved. The performance per program is as follows. We're still on Q4. The program 1, the graph indicates each program, and at the end, the total, as I've already indicated, 19 targets, 13 achieved, 6 not achieved. In program 1, we had 9 targets, 7 were achieved and 2 were not. Program 2, 6, 3 achieved and 3 not achieved. And program 3 had 4 targets and 3 were not achieved, achieved and 1 was not achieved, which gives a total of 19, 13, and 6. The next slides deal with the percentage of achieved, which is the same information but expressed in percentages. Program 1 achieved 78%, 22 not achieved. Program 2, 50%, 50 not achieved, and program 3, 75% achieved and 35% not achieved. The performance against the set targets still on Q4. The annual performance plan, the first one, which deals with the annual performance plan, which is compliant with the prescripts and table within the timelines. We will see it's the one that is red in the slide. And the deviation is that the APP was not tabled in Parliament before the end of March. The reason being that although the tabling was not done before the end of March as planned, Parliament extended the period of tabling of both the SP and the APPs before the start of the second term, which was scheduled for 14 April, taking into consideration the interruptions that were caused by the by COVID-19. So both the SP and the APP were affected by that, and they tabled in April in line with the new parliamentary tabling schedule. Chairperson, I'm not sure if I must go through the green ones, but I will unless you say I should skip them. The second one was combined assurance plan implemented, and the quota target for 1920 was to be implemented in 24 courts. The quarter 4 report is that the plan was implemented in the 24 courts, and therefore there is no deviation. The target has been achieved. The third,
we have gone through your presentation.
Yes, sir.
You can focus on those areas that you think need your attention. We have gone through your presentation.
Chairperson, you're a bit low. I didn't hear the last part.
Oh, I was saying that we have gone through your presentation. You can focus on the areas which you think are important to bring to our attention, especially the red ones.
Okay.
But we are after with the presentation.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Chairperson. I've done with the first one on program 1. The second on program 1 that is red is item number 6, which is the ICT Master System Plan implemented over MTF. The target for the quarter was to be rolled out in 5 superior courts, and the quarter 4 targets, prioritized projects, which is the e-filing project of the ICT plan, rolled out in 5 courts. The deviation is that the e-filing project was not rolled out in the 5 courts as planned. The reason for the deviation being that the project was delayed for a long time due to challenges experienced by SITA to execute the rollout. However, the project has been revived. SITA has appointed the Azure Cloud, a consultant for provision of the cloud environment hosting the e-filing project, which was the issue at that time. The prioritized projects were the e-filing project of the ICT management system plans was not rolled out in favor. However, the component of the e-filing project, which is case lines, was rolled out, so it was piloted in 1 superior court with the superior court. The next slide deals with the program 2 performance. Still on Q4, the first red is the percentage of achievement of quasi-judicial targets, and the difference in performance because the target was 100%. The difference is 2% under addition, being the number of applications referred back to the litigants because of non-compliance with the rules. The intervention is that the chief registrars continuously engage with litigants to fill that gap. The FEDS rate, which is also in program 2, percentage of default judgment finalized by registrars a year. Targets were also like the first one, 100%, and the deviation is 3%, which is the achievement of 97%. The reason for the deviation being the number of applications referred back to litigants because of rules non-compliance. The same registrars will continuously engages with the next one. Still on program 2, the percentage of taxations of legal costs finalized per year. Also, the target is 100%. With a deviation of 2%, which is a 98% achievement. And the reason also being that the number of applications referred back to the litigants because of non-compliance with the rules. The next item relates to program 3, which is the number of judicial education courses conducted per year, and then 7 when the deviation out of the 50. And the reason for the deviation is
Is it me, or is it the problem? Is it with me, or is it with the SG?
Must be with the SG because I've got the same problem.
The problem is with the Office of the Chief Justice. Yes.
Okay. Can the committee secretariat communicate with the Office of the Chief Justice?
Yes, Chair, I want it. We've managed to contact them, Chair. They're trying to reconnect. They just lost contact, Chair. It's network problems. They're trying to reconnect at the moment, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. On judicial
Is
education.
she the online? Should I unmute?
You did it good enough.
My apologies, Chairperson. I think we were cut off.
No problem. You can repeat where you
Yes.
left off.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. The last one I presented was program 3, still on quarter 4, which was the number of judicial education. Courses conducted per year. The quarter target was 15, and the output was 8, and the deviation was 7. And the deviation reason was that the unavailability of facilitators because of appointed district court magistrates and the planned action as intervention achieved. Now moving to program 1, which is Q1. In Q1 of the current year, we had 10 planned targets, 9 were achieved, and 1 was not achieved. The performance per program on Q1 was that program 1 had 2 targets were achieved. Program 1 has 2 and all targets were achieved. Second program, 6 targets, all achieved. Third program, 2 targets of which 1 was achieved and 1 not achieved. 9 out of 10, 9 was achieved, 1 was not. And next is a percentage presentation of target 1, of quarter 1, which is 100%.
You the call number, some of what she was separate to me. Just check if which one of those you have.
Okay. The next slide after the numbers of the targets is a percentage expression of the targets, which is still on program 1. Q1, program 1 and 2 both achieved 100%, and program 3 achieved 50%. The targets that were achieved and not achieved in Q1, you will see on that slide, Chairperson, that the only one is green, the others are not applicable because the targets were crafted in such a manner that we can't give the overall at this stage. The same with the second slide, item number 7, which is percentage of designated employees, which is SMS and other categories with financial disclosures within, also achieved. This next slide deals with target program 2, target achieved and not achieved. They are all green, and may I skip it? The same with the next slide. Program 2 still on Q1, also achieved. The next slide deals with program 3, targets not achieved and achieved. We have 1 red, which is the number of judicial education courses conducted. Quarter 1 target 15, actual 2, variance is 13, and the reason for deviation is due to COVID pandemic workshops not concluded. The corrective measure is that we will implement visual judicial education courses going forward. The rest are non-applicable and green. And may I at this stage hand over, Chairperson, with your permission, to the CFO to take us through Q1 of last year and Q4 of last year and 1 of current year on the financial information and performance. Over to you, CFO.
Thank you, Eve. Good afternoon, Chairperson and honorable members. On the Q4 snapshot of the expenditure for that quarter only, program 1, which is administration, overspent by 31 million for that year, and I will deal with the reasons on this slide. The main reason for overspend, or main reasons,
You are muted. Can you unmute yourself?
I think, sorry, Chairperson, quickly, I think we lost the SG again because the CFO seems to be using the same link with
the SG.
We are, now we're back. We are back.
Okay, they are back.
Are we back? Oh.
Okay. So Chairperson.
I think CFO should start from scratch.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
Chairperson, I'm going to deal with the expenditure slides for the snapshot of Q4. Program 1 administration overspent for that specific quarter. The main reasons for that overspending were the following. The payment of our Microsoft volume licenses were paid, both contracts in that during the period of March, as well as ICT equipment that we ordered early in the financial year, most of which were manufactured in China, and the factories closed in China during January already due to COVID-19. We then only received this at the end of March, and we had to make that payment. Those are the main reasons for the overspending for that Q4. And then the other overspending for Q4 was judicial education and support, of which the main reason was we planned for the training of 203 magistrates for Q3, but due to the delays in the appointment of all the magistrates, we only conducted this training in Q4, and that is the reason why we overspent that program for the quarter in the period. Chairperson, I'm going to, the next slide deals with the exact classifications where the over and underspending happened, but the reasons remain exactly the same. Therefore, I would like to refer you to the slide that deals with slide 40 on our presentation, where we have to disclose rollovers, irregular and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. But before I talk about that, I just need to mention for the committee members' understanding that the Q4 results is not the audited results of the OCJ. It's a snapshot of 3 months of the financial year. So it's unaudited information, and it was before any environments and fund shifts happened. So what we also need to disclose in this presentation is that for Q4 and the financial year, there's no rollovers and there's no irregular and fruitless and wasteful expenditure reported. Then if we go to the next slides dealing with Q1 of the financial year, the current financial year, you will see that overall there's an underspending of 61 million for the first quarter. And the main reason for that is the almost total lockdown of the country due to COVID-19 that affected the whole of the quarter, basically. Now, if we go to the main areas of underspending was on the goods and services portion of the budget, whereby all the travel and subsistence and those related expenditure didn't happen because traveling was not permitted during lockdown, and that is where the major savings occurred or underspending occurred. The other reason for underspending, a main reason for underspending, is on the compensation of employee allocation, due to the fact that although the department budgeted for a salary increase, a cost of living increase for the financial year, that cost of living increase didn't happen, and that obviously will result in an underspending as the budget was allocated with the increase, and now the spending is as per the salary notches of the previous financial year. The other area of underspending relates to capital underspending. On our procurement plan, especially in the ICT environment, there was a number of projects that we wanted to kick off during Q1, but due to the lockdown and COVID-19 restrictions, it was not possible to complete procurement processes for the expenditure on the capital equipment on ICT equipment. So that is basically the main reason why we underspent in Q1. I would then go to slide 44, which would just indicate for the quarter the percentages that we managed to spend per program. So the Q1 expenditure for the OCJ is at 88.9%, including the direct charges, which represents the salaries of judges. For Q1 on the voted budget, we've spent 81.8%, and then on the direct charge budgets, 96.9%. The other reason for underspending on the direct charge is because there was also no salary increase approved for public office bearers, which will include the judges. So there was also an increase budgeted for, but there was a 0% increase allocated to the judges. Chairperson, I want to then move to slide 47, which deals with the requested information on budget pressures that the OCJ might experience in the next financial years. The main budget pressure that we will experience is because of the cut on compensation of employees allocation. In the next financial year, the OCJ's budget has been cut by 258.6 million rand, of which 109.8 million is on the voted budget, where the officials are being paid from, and then 183.4 million from the direct charges, where the judges' salaries are paid from. For the middle year, 2022-23, the budget is cut by 350 million, of which 148.9 million is from the voted fund, and then 255.2 million is from direct charges. These compulsory cuts will have a negative impact in the OCJ sustaining the current full staff establishment moving forward. The cut will also compel the OCJ not to fill critical posts, but to manage the budget cuts through the keeping of vacancies. The other issue that we need to highlight in terms of this budget cut is, Chairperson, you will remember that the OCJ had an additional allocation on compensation of employees in the 2020 MTF process to fund the establishment of the Mpumalanga division of the High Court, which represents the Mbombela High Court and the Middelburg High Court. So those funds are basically now negated, and although we've appointed staff and the courts are operational, it means that we are now working in a deficit for this establishment as well. Then the next slide will give the service delivery impact that these cuts will have on the OCJ. The first impact would be on increased case backlogs at all the superior courts, in the main seats, local seats, as well as circuit courts. The training program for judicial officers will have to be scaled down in future. We will have an inability of providing sufficient witness administration. We won't be able to provide sufficient translation services, and we also won't be able to provide sufficient transcription services moving forward as a result of these budget pressures. Thank you, SG.
Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. Part D, personnel information, Q4 previous and Q1 current. Q4, an overview of the personnel related matters is as follows. The post-establishment reflected the 2,047 approved posts, of which 1,866 are filled and 181 were vacant and funded. The vacancy rate based on those figures is 8.8%, which is lower than the national target of 10%, and this translates to 91.2% of our establishment filled. Out of a total of 1,866 employees, which is warm bodies, we have 1,140, which is a 61% female, and 726, which is 39% male. The SMS members is 42 out of that number. Total SMS members is 42. and 43%, which is 18, is female, and 57%, which is 24, is male. We maintained a 36%, which is 688 of 1,866 rate of youth employment against the national target of 30% of our establishment. The staff turnover was 34, which is 1.8%, including resignations, contract expiry, and transfers to other departments. The next slide, the SMS gender representation. Out of the 42 SMS members as at the end of March, 18, which is 43%, were female. I think I've covered these figures already. We have 5 vacant posts at SMS level out of these 42, and greater focus will be on female appointment during the 2021 financial year to meet the 50 target for male-female representation. People with disabilities, we achieved a 1.1%, which is 21 out of the 1,866 against the national target of 2%. We intend to enter into partnerships with organizations that specialize in these areas to attract the relevant people. Employee relations, dependencies on external stakeholders to investigate, prosecute, preside over our and defend alternate dispute resolution processes have delayed the conclusion of employment relations matters. Disputes stand at 16 at Q4, all pending, misconducts 21, 15 pending and 6 finalized, and grievance 33 cases, 31 pending, 2 finalized. The intervention is that we have trained 15 internal staff members on investigating and initiating, including presiding over the disciplinary proceedings to address the backlog. Moving to Q1, as at the end of Q1 of this current year, the establishment was 2,115 approved posts, of which 1,893 are filled and 222 vacant and funded. Vacancy rate 10.5%, which is higher by 0.5% of the 10%. Approved posts, as I've said, 2,115, and 89% of our establishment is filled. As at the end of June this year, we have 1,194, 63% employees female total, and 699, 37% males, which is a total population. Out of that, 43 are SMS members, which is 44%, 19 female, 56%, 24 male. We maintain a 32% rate of youth employment against our establishment and against the national target of 30%, which is 605 youth out of 1,893 employees in the department. The staff turnover was 66, which is 3.5%, including resignation and other turnover mechanisms. Vacancy rate, with the onset of COVID-19, the vacancy rate rose sharply to 8.8% at the end of March 2020 to 10.5% as at June 2020, as indicated above. This was because the vacant posts could not be filled at the usual rate, and including the DPSA restrictions on advertising only critical positions, and prospective candidates could not travel to due to restrictions relating to the regulations and the levels, to ask some of them to access virtual platforms. So the OCJ introduced a contingency plan to allow candidates to participate in interviews at the nearest OCJ offices, where we will provide the platform. Gender representation, we're still on Q1 current year. Out of 43, I've already covered these figures. We have 4 vacant posts as SMS level as at Q1 this year, and greater focus will be on attracting female appointees during the financial year to meet the 50 target on female managers. Disabilities still on Q1, the percentage still the same, and because of COVID, obviously, the engagement with organizations could not take place, but we will fast track that process. Employee relations, the same reason as we indicated in Q4, disputes 17, stood at standard 17, 16 pending, 1 finalized, misconduct 22, 20 pending, 2 finalized, grievances 26, 17 pending, 9 finalized. Internal audit information. We focus on the prevalent internal audit findings. Matters of concern relating to audit findings are the increased and unaddressed or partially addressed findings, especially in the following areas: inadequacies in ICT security and user access management, as well as operational inefficiencies, instances of inaccurate recording of assets in the asset register and timely disposal of assets, and thirdly, lack of automated systems to improve accuracy and completeness of information relating to court performance, leave administration, and compliance with 30-day payments in the finance section. The percentage split to address the previous internal audit findings as follows. We have findings as at 1920, sorry. End of March 2020, resolved to 23, which is 35%, which was due to corrective measures implemented to address these in ICT and HRM and court performance information and the interim financial statements, leave, taxations, etc., that were affected by the findings. Second, in progress is 26, which is 39%, and they are split between ICT, HR, interim financial statements and default judgment, and the numbers are given, and the percent and the status is that in the ICT environment, the vulnerability management program not in place, flat internal networks and gaps in antivirus malware policy and patch management procedures and lack of backup management procedures. In HR is leave and non-filling of vacancies, PMDS and delayed labor relations that already indicated. Lease in IFS were issues relating to contracts, lease contracts versus invoice amounts and discrepancies on closing balances. Default judgment is not finalized within 14 days, as already indicated in the areas that we have alluded to above. Unresolved 17, which is 26%. In ICT, IFS, and court orders, and the issues are related there. In active dormant accounts, weak passwords, user account management issues, antiviruses. In IFS, lease contract as indicated above, and lastly, non-standardized court order processes. So we had a total of 66, which is 100%, and the split between resolved, in progress, and unresolved is indicated as already expressed. What the steps are we taking to address the audit findings? As management, we've put in place the various measures which are, and we have the audit facilitation committee established, which we conduct in-year monitoring and table the monthly and quarterly progress reports at EXCO, governance meetings, and audit and risk committee for oversight. At the provincial level, also in every high court, we have the provincial audit facilitation committee, which is a central court through which entry and exit on issues relating to audits are facilitated, as already indicated in the national office above, which are being formalized to also do the monitoring and monthly and quarterly reporting to the regional EXCO as well as in the unit court administration. We have also in place the operational matrix meetings, which include issues of HR, finance, and IT and other disciplines, where the provincial or the people who are tasked with these responsibilities at provincial converge at national office to regularly convene and deal with the issues of effectiveness and internal controls, including policies and standard operation procedures in these areas. The impact of the steps undertaken to address these: in the matrix meetings, we enable officials to discuss the root causes of the findings so that we know what are the root causes, identify weaknesses in the control environment, and share best practices and cross-pollinate so that other areas are assisted where others have already resolved the issues. We also embed uniform interpretation and implementation of policies and SOPs and develop and review policies and SOP as and when the need arises to address the gaps. Already, as indicated, audit facilitation committees, they monitor and coordinate in the department to reduce and eliminate recurring audit findings, as well as pursue the clean audit outcomes, as we have in the past 3 consecutive years. Before I conclude, Honorable Chairperson and members, maybe let me touch on issues relating to COVID. Just quickly, that we are currently at 80% in the office working, as we are on level 1. We 80% at work and 20% on rotation, meaning that the lesser number of officials are rotating, meaning coming on different areas of on different days, of the days of the week, so that we minimize the exposure of officials to infections. This 80% is actually 1,514 officials which are coming to work, and 378 are the 20% on rotation. And out of this 20% on rotation, 61 of them is people with comorbidities who are the vulnerable groups according to the regulations, who must have a different dispensation, as already alluded to. So we are 100% on services given at level 1. In terms of infections, today we have 100, and recoveries is 99, and the deaths is still the old information with one judge in the Eastern Cape who passed on. In addition, before I conclude, finally, may I also take the committee into confidence that there was a security breach in our ICT environment, which breach has occurred in September towards the end, and the matter is under investigation with a multidisciplinary team of law enforcement agencies of the state, and the matter is under investigation. And therefore, we need to give the investigation the time to ensure that they come to the root cause and they deal with the matter in that sense. And I seek the committee's indulgence that we do not discuss this matter further, so that we don't compromise the law enforcement agencies' investigations and also expose the system more to the vulnerability and risks given what has happened. I think in conclusion, Chairperson, that is my last comments on the presentation, and we are in the hands of the committee for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SJ. Can I now invite the member of the audit committee?
Honorable Chair and members, I did not prepare a presentation, but just from my side, I can report back that the governance at the OCJ is of a very high standard. Auditor General findings, as well as the findings of internal audit, are taken very seriously, and there are detailed monitoring and actions taken to address that. The areas of weaknesses, as also indicated by the presentation by the SG, currently centers mostly around ICT as well as HR, but as I've indicated, those matters are continuously reviewed and monitored and addressed. Also, they have a strong system of risk management in place, where there are regular reports on risks and mitigating actions to address that. We as an audit committee is very actively involved and regularly meet with management there. And I think all in all, there's a big effort from the OCJ side to keep the governance at a high level. As also indicated in the presentation by the SG, we are very happy that they also received, again, a clean audit report by the Office of the AG, which is also a very good reflection of both the controls over the financial information, the performance information, as well as compliance, compliance to all the necessary requirements. So although there are shortcomings, I think there's a lot of effort to actually address those. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now hand over to members to ask questions and make comments. I have noted the following questions. In fact, the following members: Honorable Nomathemba Maseko Jele, Honorable Werner Horn, Honorable Stephen Swart, Honorable Nivot Drachens, Honorable J.K. Mofokeng, in that order.
Chairperson, thank you very much. But I thought that it is Honorable Breitenbach who is the first. I'm not sure that if we made a mistake, but on the list it was here, on the or supposed to be the first.
Let me check. The message I received from Honorable Breitenbach is that she was going to leave. I never saw a message that she wants to raise something. Honorable Jele?
Oh, okay, it was my mistake, Chair, if that is the yes, I have question, Chair. Let me congratulate Correctional for achieving for maintaining a good work, Chairperson, clean audit for 2 years consecutively. But also on the same vein, Chair, also say we are also noting those targets that they have not met. We just want to encourage sure that they achieve targets as they set them, though we have not faced that there are reasons cited forward, Chair. Let me go straight to zoom into the presentation, page 34, where at the
Honorable Jele,
they are giving a target of number of judicial education courses conducted. You can't hear me, Chair?
yes, I think you should
Hello?
switch off your video.
Chair?
Hello?
Okay. I'll do that, Chair.
Yes, can you start?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, yes. Can you repeat your question on the target?
Yes, I just want to go on the targets. The target number of judicial education chairperson, they're citing the reason that they did not achieve this target because of COVID-19. I think this one, SG, you should have taken it serious because you are saying you're going to use visual now to conduct those courses, but I think that should have happened even before because we continued, all of us, in making sure that work goes on. The other one, Chairperson, is this one of the percentage tenders. My question on this one is, how many women that they have empowered, women? companies of women that they have empowered on this issue of an answer on that one. And then I'm not chairperson. The concern, there's a serious concern on this issue of security, especially in our courts. I know that the SG mentioned that in their offices, but I also want to raise this issue of security, particularly at the courts. SG will also see what happened in Free State, where a group of people just barged into the court, and really our staff was not happy, was not safe also on that one. I think whilst you are dealing with those issues, also look into these issues as they're very important. And then also chairperson on single judiciary, the lower courts bill, that indeed they're at the stages, they're at advanced stage now. But we want to know, are they going to prioritize this one to make sure that they speed up the matter also on this issue? And I have another one question on the finances, financial expenditure. One is noting a number of variations, chairperson. And there's the reasons also that they are being cited here. It is late approvals, non-payment of particulars of senior management staff on the issues of notch increases, delays in awarding of ICT tenders. I just want to know from the SG, is there any disciplinary measures that they have taken on other issues here that has resulted into some, there's a report where they are talking about their other, on the issues of personnel, where you are citing a number of discipline, those staff members that are now, I can't see where I've written this one. The disciplinary measures that you are taking, and then some, I wrote them somewhere here. I'll come back to that one. But you also cite on the same issue, Chairperson, they are citing the issue of, I'll come back to that one. It's just that I mixed up my papers.
And your bandwidth is low. We are struggling to hear you, Honorable.
Okay, let me come to this one of the vacancies. Chairperson, you still hear me, Chairperson? I'm still there. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, but I'm not sure whether I'm not sure whether the SG has been able to capture all your questions because your bandwidth is low. We can't hear you properly.
Oh, okay. Let me finish, Chairperson, with this one. She will indicate to me if maybe there is something that you like. You want me to repeat on the issues of the posts, approved posts. We appreciate that 63 the over in the whole OCJ department, but also we are acknowledging that they are on the vacancies that are going to be filled. They are going to prioritize women on the SMS. So we want to see that one when you come back, because we want to see women also on these high positions, not only at the level on the ground, because we want to see the impact that women can also do at that level. Lastly, Chairperson, Okay, that was the last one. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. Let me leave this one.
SJ, were you able to capture all those questions?
Chairperson, the areas where we did not pick up, I think from after the question on the finances, we could not hear what the question was with regard to reasons for late approvals. And the other one was on discipline cases. The member said she'll come back on it, but the one on vacancies we've captured.
Okay. No,
Thank you, Chair.
we will take it. I think after we have answered, we will pick up on the questions that were not clear.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, and from my side, I think we must express our pleasure with the fact that there is indeed, again, an unqualified audit for the Office of the Chief Justice. While I am on that issue, could we get some assurance that the extended deadline for the filing of the annual report will be met by the Office of the Chief Justice? And could we also get that assurance that the annual report of the JSC will be included in there? In the past, we've had an issue once where the annual report of the JSC was not on time to be included in the annual report of the Office of the Chief Justice. Chair, a few questions. The whole issue of ICT and the ICT Master's Plan, the audit findings, and really it being a recurring issue with the Office of the Chief Justice. I've had a look at my notes regarding previous meetings, and unfortunately, in a meeting or two ago, we've been informed that they are on track to sort out all of the ICT issues, and yet today, if one looks at the report on the one hand, and also take into account, let's say the issues that has been laid bare by the COVID-related impact on the functionality of our judiciary and our courts, then one has to say that we are very worried about ICT in this whole sphere, and it would be important, I think, for us to get more detail as to what the exact status is of the ICT infrastructure and what progress really has been made with the implementation of the master plan, and whether the master plan is still the plan given what we have learned through what happened during COVID. So while I am on that, Chair, you would recall that we actually had an agreement that we would receive a briefing from the Office of the Chief Justice regarding the pilot project of case lines. And one would have hoped that from on their own initiative, they would have today, because they were aware of that, informed the committee a bit more about that pilot project, because from where we are sitting, we are still wondering how it can be that the feedback is that it was largely successful and it facilitated virtual hearings very well during COVID in Johannesburg, whilst in Pretoria there seems to have been chaos. And I specifically want feedback on the whole issue or the information that is now going around that this is due to what is called in euphemistic terms the unavailability of the contractor to attend to let's say the operational issues around case lines. And I must say that from what I've been informed by some practitioners, the suggestion from their side is that it would seem that there was an issue with payment in respect of the contractor in respect of the Tshwane courts, whilst that was not the case in respect of Johannesburg. So I also want to know, how is payment to these service providers processed? Is it from the head office of the Chief Justice, or is it then dealt on a court level? And if it is indeed the case that case lines and the pilot project fell flat in Tshwane because of non-payment of service providers, what steps have been taken against those responsible for ultimately then defeating the whole pilot project? Chair, also we talk a lot when we engage with stakeholders in this sphere about the court backlogs. So it would have been good to hear what the status is within our high courts, whether the efficiency enhancement committees, which were built a year or two ago as a very important tool that would facilitate case management and also prevent backlogs, whether those bodies have met and possibly met a bit more during COVID to make plans along with the Department of Justice to address the case backlogs. And then, Chair, going to the presentation around the impact of budget cuts, the CFO says that if the budget is cut as envisaged at the moment, then the Office of the Chief Justice would be compelled not to fill what he calls critical posts. So I think as a committee, we should ask for a detail as to what is deemed the critical posts that the Office of the Chief Justice will not be able to fill. And then in addition to that, it is said that budget cuts will lead to increased backlogs, which is on the one hand of a worry, but on the other hand, it is difficult to assess whether we as a committee must try and intervene on behalf of our courts, given the fact that we've not been taken into confidence about court hours at our high courts, for which the Office of the Chief Justice is primarily responsible. So we know that the unfortunate trend in our district and regional courts and even our lower civil courts are that there's forever dwindling court hours. And for us as a committee to have an appreciative ear for the pleas against budget cuts, we must at least insist that we must be assured that with the resources that are in hand and with the human resources that are in hand, both in respect of support personnel, but also our judiciary, that optimal court hours have been maintained and that there's an improvement in that regard. And then lastly, Chair, I want to ask in respect of the long outstanding court administration model, and I want to make the statement that the fact that this has not been settled obviously played itself out in the public space when lockdown commenced, with the unease between the Chief Justice and the Minister around who would then be responsible to make regulations. I want to, from the Office of the Chief Justice side, know whether there's been further engagements then to try and settle this matter in order for us to in future not have a repeat of that situation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Swart, can you kindly repeat your last point? I think I had a challenge with my device.
Yeah, it's really Honorable Horn, but maybe me and Swart. Yeah.
Honorable Horn, sorry.
We could be deemed the justice twins these days, it would seem. Yeah. Now, Chair, my question was about the court administration model, the single, let's say the judiciary court-led administration model. And I know that it is so that we have not been able to touch base with the minister because of his illness. And he informed us that the whole issue was going to serve before cabinet, and that was more or less a year ago. But I want to know from the Office of the Chief Justice side, given the fact that the the reality that this has not been settled and sorted out with finality. In my perception, that led to the let's say the bit of conflict between the minister and the office and the Chief Justice regarding who would then be responsible for making regulations and directives regarding the functionality of our courts during the hard lockdown specifically. And I want to know whether there has been further engagements so that we prevent this type of situation from recurring in future. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Horn. Honorable Swart, the real Honorable Swart.
Thank you, Chair. This is the other Justice twin about to speak. So thank you to the SG for the report. And I do appreciate the difficult environment that the Office of the Chief Justice has been operating under. I did want to ask you a little bit more about the security breach. And I do want you to only answer what you feel you're comfortable to answer about. But as far as I can recall, I don't think we have had an outcome of the theft of the laptops previously. I might have missed something, but maybe you can just give us an update on that. And one would like to know when this took place. Was it this week, last month, during the COVID-19? And I suppose you're not too keen to say what the nature was, but maybe you could give us an indication of when we will get a full briefing of what that security breach entailed. Maybe that at this stage, understanding the sensitivity of an investigation where there is a security breach, and one presumes that it was at your office. So I would ask you to only respond to that which you're comfortable at. I think we can ask that, Chair, and with your permission. Okay. Then I would also like to ask when it is envisaged that the Chief Justice will be given the annual report. It was last year on the 3rd of October, but we do understand that would probably be postponed. And do we have any indication of what one presumes it will be an online presentation at a later stage? One of the issues which has been alluded to is by the CFO is the budget cuts, which have got quite a significant impact going forward. I'm just reading from my notes here, and the possible deficit at the two Mpumalanga High Courts. Now, one appreciates that you are engaging as a department with National Treasury, but one of the concerns last year was that the Chief Justice indicated that he had had no interaction with the National Treasury at all. So is it envisaged that the Chief Justice or the judiciary, as opposed to you as a department, are also engaging with National Treasury on the impact that this has budget cuts? And that would be quite interesting to hear as well. Then the issues around the North Gauteng High Court have been alluded to by Mr. Horn, the issue of the case line digital system. But in addition to that, there have been a number of complaints that have been circulating about the massive system failure on the 21st of September relating to internet email access, and that this could be broader and other courts. Could we have an urgent update on that? Clearly, with the reliance on an online system now, virtual system, this would be very concerning if this hadn't been sorted out very, very quickly. In addition, there have been complaints about too few judges to hear matters. That might be beyond your purview. We might need to raise that with the Judicial Services Commission and the Chief Justice himself. But it doesn't seem correct that where you have urgent applications that should be heard, that there are insufficient judges in that regard. And maybe you could assist us in how we can raise that, possibly with the Chief Justice himself, the appointment of judges. I think it's very critical for us to understand as a nation, as we indicated with the department, of justice, the critical role that judiciary plays and our courts play. And as the CEO of Business Leadership said, it's about justice, but it is also about economics. Without the rule of law, one cannot do business. So without an efficient operating court system, particularly at a high court level, and I'm talking about civil courts, criminal courts, it has a massive impact, Chair, as you know, on the economy. So we need to ensure that our norms and standards that the Chief Justice sets are adhered to. So, Chair, from my perspective, I would like responses in that regard. I would also like an indication of whether there will be new court directives given on the court sit-ins, given that we are now at stage level 1 of the lockdown, what impact that will have. We've had a number of complaints from various courts across the nation, high courts, where there also seems to be an inconsistent application of the court directives given by the judge's president. And obviously we need to see that we can, as quickly as possible, in virtual court proceedings, have cases heard, have trials heard, have civil cases heard, urgent applications, and of course, criminal matters. So from my side, thank you for the audit report, and let's see what we can do to improve the sit-ins. But we need, Chair, your guidance. We would also need to engage with the Chief Justice himself, because many of the issues, I'm sure the Office of the Chief Justice would say that lies in the hands of the Chief Justice himself and the judiciary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Hon. Honorable Nieuwhout Stragens.
Chair, thank you very much. And to the SG of the Office of the Chief Justice, thank you very much for your presentation. My first question is a question of clarity. So in terms of the slides, on slide 6, the first point reads, pursuant to the engagement between the Chief Justice and the former Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, indicators and targets relating to judicial functions on court performance were removed from the OCJ strategic plan, as they are within the control of the judiciary and not the OCJ. So then moving on to slide 8. The 5th point there says to support, well, the OCJ has the following functions, and the 5th bullet would then be to support the judicial function of the superior courts. Now on to slide 13. In the second paragraph, where it says the Chief Justice and the judiciary led by the Chief Justice, and so on and so forth. So I would like to understand then that who is the judiciary if the Office of the Chief Justice does not do judicial function? So I'm really not clear on this delineation. So if you could give me clarity on that. And then I'm happy to see that the percentage of youth in the OCJ it has extended or has increased, and you're continuing, if you could continue with that. I would, however, like to see the 2% or more percentage for people with disabilities. Please do not regress in that aspect. And then in terms of the tools of trades, laptops, computers, etc., there are many grievances about the unavailability of judicial officers and staff, and I would like to know that has that matter been resolved, particularly because it's now 6 months later after the hard lockdown. We're going into virtual. We're using the mode of virtual. So has the matter of tools of trade been resolved? And then could you please provide the reason for non-implementation of salary upgrades? If you can just provide the reason. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mufokeng.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thanks for the presentation, SG and your team. I would like to join my colleagues in congratulating you on the unqualified report. Chair, I think I will start on the last part of Honorable New Vote Zahan about the update on the non-implementation of the salary upgrades, because it should be worrying that the mood in the office, if we can understand what does it do, noting that the budget constraints. Chair, I would like to start by finding out on the court administration model. Can we get a progress in finalizing that policy? And the second one, it will be on the lower courts bill. How far is it also? Because I've been following, but I couldn't get a sense of where we are. I've been covered partly by Honorable Maseko Jele about the Senegal court in Free State on the incident that happened. One wants to ask a question on, do you have a security responsibility jointly with the Department of Justice? Can you tell us what have you learned from that experience, and what is it that you're going to do in future? Because it compromises the officials, and not only them, also the citizens that are coming to the courts for different things. On the wellness program, can you update us, because you said it will be implemented, and that will be something that can assist us to know, because people are working and others, their stress level is amazing with a lot of things, COVID-19 and many others that came with. On the issue of the court modernization and the paperless digital courtroom, can you also update us, because we thought by now we would have been somewhere, but noting what happened in Pretoria Court, where a judge had to send a WhatsApp about the state of the infrastructure, especially the internet and the Wi-Fi not working. It was actually an embarrassment, and it's something that we don't think at this time and age we can get things like this. And I think we cannot blame the person, the judge, because it was the right thing to do. When you are frustrated, you want to work, and you find yourself in such a situation, you have to say something. And that should be something that we really need to be updated, that it should never happen again. If we can also be updated about the shortages of judges. That is something that I noted, that with that, you find yourself even having challenges that you had almost about 126 cases at some stage that were, 129 cases were not placed on the roll as a result of the backlog and not having enough personnel. The last part is on the issue of the underspending of 67 million across all programs. If we can maybe get a clarity on that. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mufokeng. Honorable Jele asked to clarify the last question that she asked.
Chairperson. Hello.
Hello, we are listening.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Honorable Maseko Jele. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, my last question was on page, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes.
I am unmuted.
Yes, we can hear you. Proceed.
Can I talk? Okay.
Yes.
It's on page 53 with pending disputes, misconduct, grievances. I think Chairperson one would want request the SG to take us exactly what are these disputes for.
We could not.
Get the,
Honorable Jele, can you write your question on the message chat? Because I think your bandwidth is very low. You were breaking up. We could not understand the question. I think if you can kindly on the chat message, if you can just write a message to everybody so that we can see it. Thank you very much, Honorable Jele. SJ, over to you. We will give you 2 minutes to confer with your team as to the approach to the number of questions that we have received. We will start at 4:25. That will also give Honorable Jele time to write her message.
okay. Thank you, Chairperson. We'll unmute and then.
Thank you.
Well, truly, the SG can give more information on page 3 of the presentation. Yes.
Chairperson, where are you?
Thank you very much, honorable members. Can we start? SJ, can you start from your side in answering the questions?
Can you hear me, Chairperson? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. The questions will cluster them. Let me deal first with the issues relating to policy matters on the single judiciary and the lower courts bill being at an advanced stage. Whether when will it be prioritized? I think the question was asked more than once. The court administration model, maybe they fit the background is this: the judiciary had submitted their proposals on the court administration model in 2014, if I'm not wrong. And the matter is now on the side of the executive, and the minister, I think, is well placed to respond on this matter, including the lower courts bill and how fast it will be processed through parliament as well as, cabinet, as well as going through the normal process. So where are we sit as the OCJ? We are unable to give definite answer on where the court administration judiciary model is, except to say that the judiciary has presented theirs and the response of the executive, which the minister can lead on. The other aspect related to the JSC report, the 1819 was submitted to the portfolio committee in May 2020, and the 1920 will, sorry, to the minister, sorry, not to the portfolio committee. And the audit, the annual report for the OCJ will be submitted within timelines that we can give assurance to the committee that it will be done. There was a question asked about the delineation of responsibilities between the judicial function. Maybe as a matter of background, as indicated in the slides, when we started in the OCJ, we included all targets, including the ones that lies outside the administration control, which are the judicial function targets. And subsequently thereof, the engagement between the judiciary and the ministry took place, and that was removed from the OCJ strategic plan as well as APP. Subsequently, you will recall, Chairperson and honorable members, that the Chief Justice does present the report on an annual basis. In the last 2 years, I think, that has happened, and that is where the judiciary will submit will deal with their reporting on matters that lies within their space. And that response also covers or deals with matters relating to case backlogs, which is part of what the Chief Justice and the judiciary will be reporting on. So the response will be, as already indicated, in that way, that we are unable to share with the committee on the backlogs as they fall within that space. The same with the issue relating to the court directives and the issues that lies between the minister and the Chief Justice regarding the responsibility for directives, as well as the alleged inconsistencies between court directives in the high courts. Those are the matters that are seized with the heads of courts under the leadership of the Chief Justice, and therefore we cannot be in a position to engage on them. The meeting between the Chief Justice and the Portfolio Committee, I think the Chairperson, I may leave that in your hands, as already the Chief Justice had indicated a position in that regard. I'll get the CFO to deal with budget matters, and then we'll move to security matters before we go to ICT issues and HR. Thank you, Chairperson.
Chairperson, on the questions relating to procurement and budget, the question about women empowerment through the procurement processes, obviously that is part of our targets, but as there were 0 tenders awarded during the first quarter of the financial year, we also couldn't empower any female-owned company because we didn't award any tender in the first quarter of the year due to COVID-19. But women empowerment forms part of the plan there. On the issue of budget underspending raised by, I think, Honorable Mofokeng. Underspending across all programs, that is due to COVID-19 related matters, because Q1 ended at the end of June and we were in hard lockdown during April and May, and then partial lockdown in June. So that is the main reason for underspending across all programs on the budget related issue. One of the issues that we raised as a reason for underspending, the salary increase or the 0% salary increase, that is as a result of the non-implementation by the Department of Public Service and Administration, which at this stage haven't allowed any salary increase for public servants. And therefore, there will be an underspending. There's nothing that the OCJ can or cannot do about it. That is a Department of Public Service and Administration issue. The other budget-related matters that were raised, let me quickly check.
One was whether the Chief Justice will engage with the National Treasury or whether the OCJ is. Maybe just to chip in there and indicate that we are engaging with National Treasury as and when the budget are cut, whether before or after, because some of them happen arbitrarily without engagement, but others are engaged before. So we do present to National Treasury the impact of what the cuts will do before they do that. So that engagement does happen. But with regard to the Chief Justice and National Treasury, unless it has happened outside our knowledge, I'm not aware of the National Treasury having engaged the Chief Justice in that regard. The other issue related to when will we get a report on, when the committee will get a report on the theft of computers. I assume it relates to the breaking in that happened in I can't remember which year, 2016, where 15 computers were taken. I remember that I might be wrong, that we reported to the committee that the South African Police Service indicated that the case is closed as undetected. They were not able to identify who has that, so the case is closed. Yeah, the CFO can proceed with the finance matters.
Other budget-related matters, Honourable Chair, the question was raised, what are classified as critical posts? Critical posts are the posts that are crucial in the court environment to support the superior courts in the core function. That will include posts like interpreters, registrars, law researchers, judges' secretaries, court recording machine clerks, and then obviously in the other program in Sajay, that will include facilitators for judicial training. So those would be identified or classified as critical posts. Another budgetary matter that we reported at the end of Q4 and in the first quarter of this financial year, which we couldn't achieve, was the procurement of ICT hardware or tools of the trade, as it was mentioned earlier in one of the questions. We can confirm that that procurement process was concluded, and we were able to issue 106 laptops and 199 desktops as part of the conclusion of that procurement process.
Okay. Then we can move to, I did not get clearly, Chairperson and honorable members, there was a question about when will the CJ be given the annual report. If clarity can be given, I'm not sure I captured it correctly. We can move now to the HR questions, then we'll move to ICT. And we note, Chairperson, the comments of the Committee on the Youth, as well as the people with disabilities and the increment of the women at SMS level.
I think SJ, the question was specific, as members would want to know if that report by the Chief Justice is going to be given this year. And if so, the date.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Chairperson. Usually the report is given around October, November, but we'll communicate the date after the relevant heads of court committee have dealt with the matter of the report. HR.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, regarding the last question regarding the wellness program and wellness interventions, particularly during the COVID period, Chair, from the HR side, the department moved into what's referred to as an e-care program, where the assistance chair to employees throughout the country and at the courts was in the form of SMS campaigns where employees were allowed to check in through SMS and get callbacks on from a clinical team comprising of medical experts, counselors, and registered nurses to a toll-free number SG and an app that was developed by a service provider called Health at Hand, which contains a USSD code in order for staff to be able to engage different options on the system to acquire the necessary counseling and medical assistance advice that was required to address any of the concerns, particularly relating to COVID. Our physical contact engagements, unfortunately, were restricted due to the lockdown level restrictions, and our campaign in particular was limited to giving electronic desktops along with the e-care program that I've just mentioned. Regarding the issues of misconduct and grievances, during this period, Chair, the issues pertain to the normal challenges around performance assessment processes. The majority of the grievances related to dissatisfactions after the outcome of the normal performance management process. A few of the grievances related to people who had applied for positions but were unsuccessful in their applications. There were issues around also people's applications who had applied for long-term incapacity leave, which had been declined by the health risk manager, and these form the majority of the basis of cases that were complained of during the quarter 1 and quarter 4. Regarding the issue of misconduct, during the majority of cases from our statistics came from one particular area which related to the misuse of state vehicles. We have since put into place contingency plans to ensure that our checks and balances are more tighter, to ensure that when staff take vehicles out, we ensure that there's proper controls in terms of the vehicles that are being used, the licensing of people that are taking them out, and ensuring that they are done within the time frames that are allowed. For example, if vehicles cannot be taken a night before, but are taken on the morning and returned on the time frames that have been approved. Other areas included complaints regarding absenteeism. There have been 1 or 2 complaints around insubordination and non-compliance with the leave policy, as well as failure to perform duties in accordance with the performance agreements. There have been 1 or 2 cases involving dishonesty, but that appears to be the majority of the matters relating to misconduct. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Those were the HR-related responses. We will now move to IT, having covered the rest, I think. No, before maybe we move to IT, issue of security. Security is a shared responsibility. Actually, it's not shared. It is a retained responsibility by the Department of Justice, which services are provided through service providers procured via justice, although we also participate with them in those processes. However, the functions still remain retained. We note what the members have indicated with regards to the Free State incident, which happened in the lower court. But however, the risk, obviously, as already indicated, is not immune to the high courts. The The question was asked what the lessons are with regarding to the shared responsibilities. What we can share is that the taking over or the establishment of an independent function when it's not transferred requires resources. And even though we might want to have plans to be put in place to have our own security services separate from justice, which is done, the logic behind the sharing of the responsibility is the scale, economies of scale, because when you put most of the costs in one contract, then obviously there are economic of scales to be benefited from. However, be that as it may, it is our wish that we could have our own security services in the OCJ, but that requires resources, both technical and infrastructure, etc. So that is the hiccup in relation to us taking responsibility for security. And we note the comments and the concerns regarding to the breach and the staff security besides the infrastructure. We move now to matters relating to ICT. We'll start with the Gauteng issues. I think few issues were raised regarding to the lack of judges, but when it comes to the lack of judges, it is a matter that lies in the JSC and the minister. In relation to increasing the number of judges, it's outside the purview and the control of the OCJ and the administration. Hello? Sorry?
I was just saying to Correctional is interfering with the running of.
Okay. Yes, Chairperson, that was the matter of security. We were moving to ICT actually, dealing with the matters. I was on the issue of judges, and I've already covered that. The lack of judges, and then the issues relating to the breach. Maybe let me deal with that before we move to Gauteng and the case lines. The breach happened on the 19th of September. As I've indicated, I give an assurance to the committee that at the right time, given the progress and the outcome of the investigation by the law enforcement agencies of the state, we will brief the committee on this issue. And I seek the indulgence of the committee at this stage on that matter. We shall move to the Gauteng issues on the ICT and broadly ICT infrastructure in the OCJ. Thank you, Chairperson. Nati?
Thank you, SG, and good afternoon to members and Chairperson. Chairperson, I would just address high level some of the matters that have been raised. I think I must mention that in the last financial year, the OCJ installed a Wi-Fi in 5 courts, Pretoria being one of them. So they've had a Wi-Fi since 2019 August, together with Joburg and other courts in the country, SCA, Concord, and Pietermaritzburg. Secondly, the CFO has indicated that there was equipment which is consonant with the latest model or solution of Caseline, which was purchased and provided amongst other courts, Pretoria and Johannesburg. Laptops were provided, and desktop that we call all-in-one desktop were also provided to both courts. This happened during the lockdown period. So that has been provided. The matters that, of course, people complain about, I think the SG has indicated at the time when there was a breach, unfortunately, some of the equipment could not be used. The solution, basically entirely, the whole network had to be switched off to enable some of the things to be done, but also to prevent further encryption of data. So it was as a result of the breach, not as a result of the lack of equipment there. I will then go to the case line, but before I go to the case line solution, I just want to mention that the master systems plan is still very much part of the plan. It's important also to note that it was developed by SCJ in support of the judiciary, with the inputs of the judiciary. Part of the MSP plan, MSP solution is to introduce the court online solution, which seeks to enable litigants to be able to file either for be it summons or be it an urgent application online, irrespective where they might be in the world. So that component, Court Online, has two, that solution has two components. The first component being case management component, which is the one that has been under development and has experienced some challenges. It is also the component that the litigants will interact with largely. So the litigants and registrars will be interacting with that component to a very large extent. Then the other part or the other component of the solution is the case line solution. This is off-the-shelf solution, which the judges interact with largely. It deals with the management of evidence, where also judges will then be able to deal with either oral arguments, written arguments, and also the judgments. And that is the component that was introduced as a result of the delays with the case management component. It was introduced in Gauteng, piloted in Gauteng, in both Pretoria and Johannesburg, and to some extent it was successful with other challenges, of course, that are there. And at this point in time, that's where it's confined, the challenges that then are being experienced are as a result in the main because of the bridge, but because it's a new system also, and we introduced a back-end component of a solution that otherwise should have been introduced in its own totality. That is from a case management aspect until the evidence management aspect of the solution. So that is what the position is with the MSP, the case line, and the Wi-Fi and other equipment that is used by the officials at the court. I think I will end the SGN chairperson unless I left something.
I think you have covered the issues in Gauteng and broadly the ICT infrastructure, but maybe just to add that the ICT infrastructure is under consideration, and we have different projects that we are looking at to make sure that we upscale the infrastructure itself. I think the incident also has presented the opportunity also to ensure that we close the gaps. The intention being to move to the cloud, but I don't want to be ahead of myself because these things takes time and budget and technical skills to do. So I don't know if you want to add anything on infrastructure. Yeah. I think we've covered all the areas, Chairperson and honorable members. May we be highlighted if there's anything we did not cover?
The question on the chat by Honorable Jele,
yes,
and the request by Honorable Nibu Drachens.
Sorry, Chairperson, sorry to interject. There was an issue on the Sajay issue. Can we cover that one? May we take the question from you, Chairperson, on Jele, honorable member?
Yes, I was saying that on the chart there is a question from Honorable Jele. If the best give more information on page 53 of the presentation on disputes pending misconduct, who is involved, and lastly the grievance, who is involved, senior or junior staff members who are involved. And then there is a request from Honorable Levo Drachens that a copy of the report, that is the report of the Chief Justice to the public. I think she's asking for a copy of the report. Not all members were able to attend the last one. I think even this one, given all the challenges of COVID, but what is, I think what Honorable Nivot Trachen is asking for, if there are copies of the report that the committee be furnished with such.
Okay, of the previous one.
Even after this one, if we can continuously be furnished with such reports.
Okay, no, we've noted that, we'll do that, Chairperson. But maybe I must not create an unrealistic expectation. The release of the report, the current, is dependent on the heads of courts and the Chief Justice decision on when to release it. But the previous ones we will provide because they are already in the public space. The question on the discipline, misconduct and disputes, did you capture the question?
Chairperson, hello, SG.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair, I think there were some answers that were given in line with that, if I'm not mistaken, when, I don't know, the presenter,
on
the
HR.
responder, yeah, earlier, I heard him answering some of the issues about misconduct and all that, about the cars, using of cars and all that. I don't know if maybe was it enough or was covering the whole thing.
Yes, thanks, ma'am. I think he did cover the statistics in relation to the breakdown of the trends of cases. May we, Honorable Chairperson, move to the last question on our side, which is on the judicial education courses and training.
Chairperson, Honorable Jele raised a concern regarding the non-achievement of the target on judicial education. Unfortunately, COVID-19 chair caught everyone by surprise, and we would not have foreseen that coming. The lockdown affected all operations as there was no activity in our operations during that period. And the visual training proposed were mainly to mitigate the impact relating to this target going forward. We can, however, report to the portfolio committee that the visual trainings are progressing well, and we should meet our target come the end of the financial year. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Chairperson, from our side, I think we have covered most, but maybe the last comment on the ICT relating to email, just for the comfort of the committee also to know that we are able to operate email on Mimecast, which is our backup solution on emails platform. So all of us staff and judges are able to access Mimecast to continue to work whilst the system is under investigation and other matters relating to addressing the infrastructure issues. Thank you, Chairperson.
No, thank you very much, SG and the team for the report. I think would like to thank you for maintaining the clean audit. And I think there are also clear explanations in areas where you did not meet the target. But overall, I think we are happy with the report. I think there is going to be limited interaction on my side because I think the issues that are really pertinent to the committee now cannot be resolved by yourself and your team. The meeting with the Chief Justice and the head of courts is really urgent. And we have done everything on our side to try to ensure that that meeting takes place. I think the real challenge is the method general of using the office of the speaker. It takes time. I think if we have to have a more interactive and much more fruitful engagement, maybe we should really think about the protocols that we need to follow, because there are quite a number of issues that are of concerns to the committee members. For instance, the issue of the case lines. Some members of the judiciary have also raised concerns, and those are not the concerns we can discuss here over the system. Are the concerns that really need us with the Chief Justice and the heads of courts to raise. We will continue to press to ensure that that meeting takes place, because there's also an issue that I think is very important that Honorable Horn raised about the number of court hours in the high courts. And we think that dialogue, we need to have it with the Chief Justice, because we think that the court hours are critical to the administration of justice. Without knowing the court hours that the high court sits, we know the district and the regional courts. It's really hampering our fuller understanding of the whole value chain. And if we have to recommend to Parliament that your budget should be increased or whatever, without having the fuller understanding of the whole value chain, I mean, we're not blaming you. I mean, it's the challenge of this whole protocol that has to be undergone in order for us to have these particular meetings. Because, for instance, we do think that it would be important that the decision we took as a portfolio committee to support that there should be no cuts with relation to Chapter 9 institutions. It should really apply to the Office of the Chief Justice, that if that happens, it should really be in a situation where National Treasury in fact has had meaningful dialogue with the Office of the Chief Justice. But these are the issues that we would like to raise with the Chief Justice and the heads of courts. The meeting has taken too long. I know the SG has done well on her side to ensure that this meeting takes place. But the method with which we want to use continuously, I don't think that it is going to ensure that there is this dynamic interaction between ourselves and the judiciary. It is just, I would say it is really hampering a meaningful interaction even with yourselves, because now it limits us to be generally dealing with the number of cars that were trashed and the disciplinary matters. We would also like to deal with issues that are much more high level, at the level of which the Office of the Chief, in fact, the Chief Justice and the Judiciary operates from. We will continue on our side to ensure that the administration of Parliament facilitates that meeting, so that we can meet. I'm talking on behalf of all the parties here. All of us are eager to meet with the Chief Justice and to raise issues with the Chief Justice. But we will wait for that meeting to take place so that we can raise those particular issues. But thank you very much for the information. I think that it has been fruitful. You can see that you have done a lot of work on your side, subject to the issues that you cannot respond to because they are a subject of our discussion with the Chief Justice. I think, honorable members and everybody, on this note, I think let us observe a moment of silence for the departure of our deputy chair of the South African Human Rights Commission, Ambassador Priscilla Jana, who is going to be late to rest tomorrow. Can we have a moment of silence? May her soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you very much, honorable members. Thank you, SG, and to your team, and to all our guests from the department, from the parliamentary side, from PMG, and the members of the media. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, SG and the team. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.